Okay, the recording has started. Once again, good afternoon. I think Mr. Ragrag was automatically removed from the session. Could someone message him that he can rejoin again? This is one of the ways that Google Meet actually works. When some people are identified to be removed from the recording, but they can return again after the recording has started. So if anyone would be kind enough to message Mr. Ragrag, he was removed from the Meet before it started recording, but now he can join again. Thank you. Now, based on the scores that were submitted from the Google quiz, nobody got even half of the score, which is 60. Where did you find the difficulty? In
Ang
the
time,
analysis
sir.
portion?
Excuse
The
me, sir.
time
Time.
given?
Yes,
Nasa,
sir.
I think
nasa,
15 minutes.
Mura,
If we
sir,
sum it
dili
up,
dali.
I think I gave you more than 20 minutes already, or 20 minutes or so. And it's just not five items, but five objectives that were supposed to be analyzed. And probably because of the multiple answers, but um, the best thing to do there, if you're wise enough, is to answer every checklist possible. Correct? Well,
Sabi
maybe
niya,
some of you really thought about it, but what is this? Is this S? Is this M? Is this ART? Which level in the domain?
kabalo pa lang ko.
Now you know. Now you realize. Remember, reflection and realization only happens after, of course. In the affective domain, Krathwohl has said, we just receive first and we respond, but later on, we develop the valuing and then the organization and characterization. So let's try to go over the objectives as you have answered. Anyway, this quiz is partly diagnostic in the sense that I will not be um, making this as part of the bigger components, but this will be just a written work portion for your grades. Seeing to it that the scores are quite very low, but it doesn't mean that you did not understand. Probably there were insights gained, carried through from last Saturday session, but we don't expect that everything that was digested will always be absorbed. Okay. Perhaps a little bit of practice and exposure to objectives and all of these related tasks will make you better. It goes with time. So in that first objective, okay, can you read this objective? Just the objective. Who wants to volunteer so that you can also utilize your voice in the Google Meet? Yes, Shane. Miss Hayo, please do the
Yes,
honors of reading the objective number one.
yes, sir. Given a standard balance beam raised to a standard height, the student will be able to walk the entire length of the beam steadily without falling off within 6 seconds.
Okay, so if you have noticed that the first objective is full packed. When you say full packed, it has the SMART, okay, characteristic or characteristics. It's specific, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and at the same time, it's time bound. Okay? So you can see that a SMART objective gives you a full picture, okay? A full scenario. Remember, one of the principles of the guiding principles of creating objectives is see or begin with the end in mind. Okay, look at what you want to happen or what you want to see at the end. That's why begin with the end in mind. And if you notice that it's already there, okay, it's specific what the students will be doing. Now remember the ABCD, okay, audience, behavior, condition, and degree. The ABCD is also linked with the SMART. Now, when you say it's specific, it is specific because of the B, the behavior. The behavior that we want to see, or the behavior that we'd like our students to perform or to manifest as a result of learning, is observable. Okay? And what is the behavior there? You will notice that I have also made some signification in the objective slides. Of course, highlighted in yellow is the letter in the ABCD. It's the audience, or to whom is the objective directed to. So, of course, students. No? The default audience is always students or learners. And B is highlighted, the behavior is highlighted in green, while the condition is underlined, and then the degree of acceptable performance is highlighted in light pink or pinkish highlight. So it's specific and measurable because you can look at the objective. The behavioral, okay, component is to walk the entire length of the beam. That can be seen. Therefore, that can be measured because there will be evidence. Of course, there's the condition. The condition is given that there is that standard balance beam raised to the standard height. Okay? And then, of course, the degree. Steadily walking on the beam without falling off in 6 seconds or less, within 6 seconds or less. So it's very clear that the degree of acceptable behavior is also equivalent to or related to that measurability. Okay? It's measurable because what if a student exceeds 6 seconds? Will the PE teacher, of course, assuming that this is PE, but klaro naman nga PE na, will the teacher accept the performance? Will the teacher give a score or record or rate, give a grade for that performance if it exceeds the 6-second rule? Or what if the students walked within 6 seconds but fell along the way? Nahulog. So because the objective is specific, at the same time, it's with a degree, then it's measurable and it is doable and it is everything that we are looking for. Now, going further, you try to analyze if to what degree in the RBT or the revised Bloom's taxonomy does this objective, okay, belong to? What level in the RBT? Now, it is, of course, applying. It's application. Application of the skill to walk on the standard balance beam. And asking to whether what is the dominant or the clear domain of learning, or what is the inclination of this objective? Is it cognitive, affective, or psychomotor? Naklaro naman sa iyang behavior, sa specific behavior nga iyang gusto makita nga ang ipaperform sa estudyante is a psychomotor domain, walking on the balance beam. Does this make sense? Klaro ba siya? Applying all the things that we've learned from last Saturday session. Is it a yes or maybe or not so? Klaro siya, sir, kay perfect man ang objective. Of course, we have the ideal objective as the first item, no, to be perfect. What about the second objective? Miss Andrea Ranoco, I think you were raising your hand. Could you read to us objective number 2?
At the end of the session, learners are expected to create a dance drama based on selected musical pieces from the Baroque period.
Okay, thank you so much. So for this objective, the second objective, now we find that it does not have some of the characteristics, and even it does not exhibit some of the components. So if you look at the answer key, of course, this particular objective is specific. It is still specific and measurable because students will be able to perform something. It's a performance activity, creation of a dance drama. But it does not exhibit the attainability and the time boundedness. Why do you think so that the letter A or the A and T are not manifested or is not here in this particular objective? Ba't di siya attainable? At bakit hindi siya time-bound or time-bounded? If you share also the same thoughts with the analysis of characteristics, bakit kaya siya hindi attainable and time-bounded? Who would like to share his or her thoughts about that? Or probably you are still wondering or scratching your head, parang dili man na attainable. Dili di makahimo og sayaw? Specific man. Measurable man, kay makita man ang sayaw. We can create a criteria for that. Yes, Georgette?
Because sir, there is no time included or when they will finish their dance or drama. There's no specific time when they will finish it or how many days they will make it.
It's not specific. What about the opening statement at the end of the session? Is it not indicated an indicator of time?
Indicator, sir, but maybe for the activities, there is no time bounded in the activity.
Yes, thank you so much, Georgette, for pointing that out. It's correct. Actually, you're correct. It's about the time element. It doesn't mean that there is this particular statement at the end of the session. It doesn't mean that there is that particular marker nga. Pagkahuman sa session, pagkahuman sa klase. But looking at the attainability of the task, remember, we have to look at, now, this task is realistic. Sir, tinuod man, makatotohanan. Dance drama is a common activity. It's something that can be done in the classroom or done as a work or a task. But if you look at the context of that objective, do you think the students will be able to really achieve pagkahuman gid sa session? Let's say if the session is good for 1 hour or 2 hours, do you think that at the end of the 2 hours or 1 hour, because that's the minimum, students can present that dance drama? Given that it's a dance drama from the selected musical pieces of the Baroque period, that means that aside from dancing and performing, they're performing a drama. Thus, they will have to create a script, a storyline that is based on the music, and of course, they have to choreograph. They have to create steps or dance moves based on the music, and then make that dance move tell a story, or the choreography tell a story. Now, that's the case here because you cannot do that in one session. I mean, perhaps this objective, no, it doesn't mean at the end of the session, wow, it will be automatic to the students. It might need 2 to 3 or even 1 week preparation time prior to presentation of the output. Would you agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Is that how also you want to say it, Georgette? That the time element is something
Yes,
not
sir.
being considered. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you for agreeing. Like, what if I say, at the end of this session, by 5 o'clock this afternoon, you can be able to submit your own lesson plan regarding a topic that I will give you. Diba? Maramag, wow, imposible ba sa kaayo? Diba? Mahimo, pero dili kaya nga mahuman. Remember, we need to look at the context of the students, the analysis of their needs and their strengths or weaknesses. That's why attainability, okay, and time-boundedness sometimes go hand in hand. Kung wala na siya, okay, maapektahan po ng iyang isa ka characteristic. Now, in the ABCD, okay, we have learners, as audience, the behavior is create. Klaro man yung behavior, create. Then there's a condition. My condition niya. The condition is that that particular behavior, that drama, is based on the musical pieces selected, meaning given, or students will choose from what was provided to them. But there is no degree. There's no degree of acceptable behavior. What kind of presentation? Or what particular criteria will the teacher look into to grade or to assess that particular activity? So ABC lang siya component, walay degree. And then it's very clear because it's a dance presentation, drama presentation, it's a creation, it's creating the highest level in the revised Bloom's taxonomy. And looking at the whole concept of the objective, again, very, very clear that it is in the psychomotor domain. Okay, objective number 3. Can someone volunteer to read objective number 3? Angie? Yes, Angie?
Number 3, learners should be able to list down precautionary measures that one should do during an earthquake at the end of the safety drill.
Okay, thank you so much, Angie. Now, in this objective, there's one missing, okay, one missing characteristic. It's letter R. Okay, we know it's specific, we know it's measurable, attainable, and it has a time-bounded element. Now, what about the R? Why is R lost here? Why is it not manifesting of being realistic? Bakit kaya? Ano kang walay letter R, or being realistic is not characterized in this objective? What are your thoughts about it? Anyone who wants to give it a try? O say siguro mahadlok ta mag-answer kay basin mo wrong. Well, how can we learn if we will not commit mistakes? And it's just trying. Whatever you defend to answer, I mean, it's from your own learning, and it also helps me to adjust or to adapt to whatever deficiencies I might not have explained well so much, or have I not given enough examples? Yes, who was Angie also? Would you like to give your reason? Why
Try.
is R? Yes.
For me, sir, dili siya realistic pa kay ang atong gisgutan panis precautionary measures pa man if in case mag-earthquake.
So we are still talking of precautionary measures instead ng mag-earthquake, prior to an earthquake. Yes? Thank you for that that idea being shared. Yes, Miss Rapista, Sheila?
Okay, sir. For me, sir, it's not realistic kay base here na ay nakabutang list down precautionary measures that one should do during an earthquake. And during an earthquake, dili man pud siguro gyud realistic nga mag-list down dayon ta sa mga precautionary measures, sir. Kay or even sa drill, murag dili siya realistic. Mo lang na akong pag-analyze sa iya. Dili siya realistic because of this thing that one should do during an earthquake.
Okay.
Sir.
Yes, thank you so much, Angie and Sheila. Yes, you're both correct when you pointed out about the precautionary measures, or the earthquake, and then the end of the drill. It's not realistic because look at the behavior. Okay, look at the behavior. The behavior is We're looking at
Please.
this as an objective, as a class objective, as an activity that students will be doing at the end, diba? Begin with the end in mind. Okay? The context is, of course, disaster readiness and preparedness, and all that part of the thing now in the curriculum that we need to be resilient, disaster ready, and all that stuff. Yes. When we look at that listing down, okay, remember, para sa objective, so that students will be able to perform. And when they can perform, it means that they have learned. But we also look into the component of teaching, learning, and then understanding that will have lifelong qualities. Okay. Now, the realism should be, now, if we want to test students' resiliency, or not resiliency for this matter, readiness, disaster readiness, and risk reduction, okay, skills or knowledge, remember that the condition there is after they were given earthquake drill or some seminar or some sort of input, no, or workshop. Now, what would be the best activity or measure or assessment or test, no, para ma-check na to kung kabalo bagid sila? Unsa may pwede nato ipahimo sa bata nga magpamatuod nga nakabalo siya nga mo din ang buhaton o mo ni ang mga pamaagi simbako na ilinog o na mga talagman. Earthquake drill is just one. We could use other scenarios. We're listing down whatever step 1, step 2, or reminders 1, 2, 3, 4. Will that be enough, or will that provide some sense of learning, and not just learning but applicability in real life? Because we say content must be in real life situations, skills must be developed for lifelong purposes. Enough lang ba nga ipalista na to ang mga bata?
Dili, sir.
No, sir.
Dili. O sige, nganong dili man?
Dapat ka nang mag-out bitaw sila, sir, nga murag sample sila ba nga mag-earthquake, mag-action din sila kung unsay buhat.
Okay. That's the word, or that's the term. Di ba? Nag-drill naman. Given nga na ay drill, earthquake drill, simulation, sa panadiha, nag-ana ang CDRRMC sa inyong eskwelahan, kay nag-conduct og workshop. Nganong imo pa mang ipalista? Why will you ask students to list down? Ngano kung maglinog karon, maglista lugar ta nga, unsa kung buhaton kung maglinog pagkaman sa linog? Mangita pa kag papel kay maglista ka. Remember, what you are doing in the classroom, or what we'd like students to do in the classroom, is something that they can do, or something that will have significance in actual situations. Ngano kung maglinog, maglista pa lugar ka Sheila sa mga steps? Maglista pa ka sa imong mga unsa ba diha? Siguro mag-ambak na siguro ka dito sa building, simba ko. Di ba?
Simbak.
Malimot na magay ka unsay duck cover hold unsa ginto? Kanang di ba kung naan ka sa actual, namo man atong gusto mahitabo nga atong estudyante paggawa sa eskwelahan, pagkahuman sa klase nato, kanang ilang na bit-bit padulong sa ilang balay kung asa man gayon sila mabutang. No? Lisod sa kay kamuno nagbakalay sa dalan ay hinumduman niya kay hala naglinog. Unsa ginto? Naglista naman mo sa eskwelahan. 1, nag-enumerate rami 1, 2, 3, 4. Nawa na. Wa na niya nagamit ang nga niya matun-an sa kung kanus naging kinahanglan to siya gamiton. That's why it's not realistic. May pahinon magingon ng teacher nga magdrama o may pag-ipadrama simulation activity, just like what Angie has said, di ba? Magdrama-drama, may pa magdrama-drama kay makita pa nimo nga ay ina na gid yang buhaton kung mahitabo na, no? Bisan tuod kung pag-abot sa actual maratol, pero at least no, na-i sense ang output nga ilang ipakita and not just listing down. Okay? Would you find it effective? Pananglitan, nag-eskwela ka og TESDA on cookery or baking. Gipatanaw mo diha og YouTube video or demo on how to bake a particular particular recipe. Na ang exam ninyo kay pa enumerate na to ang list down the ingredients or arrange the steps in cooking or baking, blah, blah, blah. Would that be effective?
No,
No.
sir.
Nga ano, saan di mong lutuon? Papil? O, di ba? Di man ka magluto og papil, muluto man ka makaon. Di ipaluto. Ipa-return demo. Kaya mo man na siya ang real life and lifelong connection. No? Lisod po kayo pag maminyo na ka na, sa itong sudan ma, papil, gigisa na ko ang papil, kaya mo na ito na sa eskwelahan, naglistaha na mamilid to. No? Sa traditionalist classroom, gipakopyahan na sa blackboard. Na, tapos yung balay, nagkopyahan mo sa blackboard sa balay. Di ba? Wala man. You're actually doing some certain task. That's why the objectives must be sensitive to what must be manifested and as a lifelong and has lifelong qualities. Now, for this objective, it's very basic, remembering, no? Very lower order thinking skill. Remembering, no? Ang remembering, may lang kung makaremember. Kaning objective, kung higher order ni siya o mapuslanon, this could be applying. At least labaw-labaw gamay sa remembering ang pag-apply. Kaya magamit naman niya. And of course, it's cognitive domain. No? Listing down. Okay, let's move on to objective number 4. Who'd like to lend his or her voice to reading objective number 4? Yes, Miss Limbaro, Trisha.
Objective number 4. It is expected that students will be able to tell the difference between statements that are based on facts and those that are not after the discussion.
Okay, thank you so much, Ms. Limbaro. So it is expected that students will be able to tell the difference between statements of fact or statements of opinion, for that matter. Now, in this particular objective, it's missing letter S and letter M. Wala siya SM. We've got it all for you, man dapat ang SM, pero hindi siya SM. Anong wala siya characteristic of being specific and being measurable? What's your thought about this objective losing SM? Yes? Anyone? Anyone? Any two? Any three? Mm-hmm. Anong wala ka siya characteristic of being specific? Yes, Cherry, Miss Fabre. Cherry, would you like to comment on that?
Ay, sir, good afternoon, sir. Wala
Yes,
na ako
good
na on
afternoon.
microphone. Kanang para sa ako sir, dili siya specific kay ang gigamit man gud niya nga term is tell. Dapat siya identify.
Yes,
Para
thank
sa
you so
ako,
much. Bullseye, correct, Cherry. When say
welcome.
tell the difference, mahibawan niya kung fact ba ni or opinion or tinuod, true or false. Mura mag tell the difference. When you say identify, mas specific siya. Identify, iyang maklase, maila. Masamot na giimog label. Label statements as facts or opinions or differentiate. So it will be clearer, thus it will become specific, and when it's specific, it's partnered also or it influences measurability. Ma-measure man. Masukod man nimo. Pila ka bukyang na identify, pila ka bukyang na differentiate or na label. But if you look at its ABCD, it does not have a degree and condition. Probably if the objective will say, given different statements, students are expected to identify facts and opinions. Wala siya degree kung pila ba ka facts and opinions. 5 out of 10 or all of the facts or correctly or accurately. So at least butangan siya og degree para makabaluta kung unsa na day target sa teacher or pila yung target nga dawaton nga acceptable performance. And from that objective, we know that it is analysis, analyzing. And when it's analysis, looking into statements, looking into the parts of the statements, we are actually fostering cognitive development or the cognitive domain. Okay. Is it clear now, or is it already somewhat understandable in terms of how we analyze objectives? Medyo hayag-hayag na ba?
Yes, sir.
Okay, that's good to hear. And the last one, the fifth one would like to read this objective. Yes, Krina.
Given two cartoon characters of their choice, students will be able to list 5 major personality traits of each of the two characters. Combine these to form a composite character and develop a short storyboard for a cartoon that illustrates 3 of the 5 composited traits.
Okay, thank you so much, Krina. Now, probably you will be telling yourself, the longer the objective, the higher probability that it is good, it is correct, it is everything. Diba?
Sir.
Because it will be there, the details will be there. And basing on this particular example, it's number 5, sorry. It's supposed to be number 5. Why is it number 8? Lucky number. So it's smart, it's there. But sometimes you will have to look into, now what is really the output or what is really the behavior? Sir, kadaghan ba sa green diha? You were telling us that green is the behavior. The green is the B. It's the action. It's what we're trying to look at the specific characteristic at S. If you look at the objective, daghang kaayo himo ng bata, di ba? Pero unsa man gid na ang iyang final output? What is really the end? No, if we say begin with the end in mind, what is really the end? Unsa man gi ending nga imong makita nga magpamatuod nga nakatuon na siya nga bata or na-achieve niya? What is the terminal, okay, part of that objective? What is the actual thing, product perhaps that you will see?
Develop a short storyboard, sir.
Okay, thank you so much, Andrea. Yes, develop a short storyboard. But before that storyboard is developed, unsa may nakabutan dito sa storyboard? That's why first, yung buhaton sa kay, given the two characters, which is the condition, the students will be able to list down 5 personality traits of the two characters given. After listing down 5 character traits, then they will combine those personalities into one character or a composite character, and that composite character with a combined characteristic of or personality of the two characters will have a storyboard, a sort of comics cartoon. And at least in that cartoon, sa story nga mahimo, 3 out of the 5 composited traits are present or will be given highlight in the comics or cartoon. Medyo daghan kahimo ng bata. But dili siya daghan in terms na daghan siya i-submit. But if you look at that, there is a single output. But creating that single output will mean that he or she will undergo different tasks and develop certain skills. Now, since it is a storyboard, okay, then it is a creation, a work of creation, or a piece that synthesizes. So it's a creating, no? A creating level under the revised Bloom's taxonomy. Now, affective domain. Why do you think, sir, creating man na drawing, nag-sketching, or nag-color, unsa ba? Nganong dili man na siya nga psychomotor? Nganong affective domain ang iyang, okay, dominant, learning domain nga gipakita? Why do you think? Why do you think that? Or maybe you think otherwise, sir, dapat cognitive na siya. Or sir, psychomotor jud na. You can agree with the answer, or you may present your opposite answer. Maybe we can negotiate. Yes. Aside from Angie, murag si Angie, girl power kayo karon nga hapon. Not to discriminate, but yes, women empowerment. Most of our ladies in the house are okay. Francis, defend
Because
the
it
defend the male generation. Yes, please.
because it involves personality traits, sir.
And what about personality traits? What about personality traits? Yes, mura to siya? Yes, Francis again. It's true, it involves personality traits. And it's affective. Remember, part of the affective domain in Krathwohl's description is actually valuing. Diba? Kung unsa imong makita ni nao, maglista sila og mga 5 personalities sa ilang favorite nga characters. No? Sila nagpili, di ba? Given 2 cartoon characters of their choice. Cartoon characters. Sila nagpili. So, between sa kadaghan sa, kung ikaw papili yung taka, o sige, isa ba yung pinaka-paborito nga superhero, Jojet? Duha ka superhero ni mga pinaka-favorite Jojet, kinsa man?
Si Spider-Man ug si Captain America.
Oh, Spider-Man o Captain America. Oh, so, di na ko mangutana anong paborito mo sila kay sa Justice League, sa tanan Marvel superheroes, or mga Power Rangers, sa diha, sila ang duha top 2 nimo. So, nakay rason nga nung sila. So, you list down 5 of their characteristics nga unsa may unique kang Spider-Man and also kang Captain America. But out from the 5 sa 10 kabuok, mag-combine ka, na maghimo kag character nga, no? Spider, Captain Spider, combined character man, composite. So si Captain Spider, nga murag Spider-Man ug murag Captain America, murag 2-in-1 siya. So unsa may characteristic ni Captain Spider nga gikan kang kuan Spider-Man ug gikan kang Captain America combined. Then ana dito siya, maghimo ni kag story. So sa imong story nga himuon, unsaan pagpakita ni Captain Spider ang tulo lang dadtong mga characteristics niya, no? Nga combined Spider-Man and Captain America. Unsa may mga sitwasyon nga magpakita niya ang pagka number 1, ngayon si Captain Spider kay kuan. Unsa man buutan nga unsa man. Unsa may mga eksena nga magpakita buutan siya. Si Captain Spider kay kuan pud siya. Unsa mga eksena imong drawingon nga magpakita po dito niya. And remember, all throughout that, you're not just using your head. You're not just using your hand to sketch, but you're actually feeling and choosing. No? What particular situations in life will I choose? But it's a matter of choice. No? Presenting situations, analyzing and judging them, no, is highly effective. Because if I ask you your favorite characters, you might have different reasons why. Diba? So that's why it belongs to, or it is manifesting most likely the affective domain. Of course, na mga cognitive. As we said earlier or last session, di maging mawala ang cognitive. Ang paghuna-huna palang daan. Ang pag-build og one character from two. Ang pag-drawing, psychomotor gihapon. Ang pag-color, ang pag-sketch. So any of these objective, as you can see, is actually the CAP, cognitive affective psychomotor. It's just that we were saying, since last session, there is always that na ay maglabaw, magpatigbabaw among the three. Payigay po dani, bisag list down rin eh. Ang pag-list down, naglihok man ang imong kamot, no? Gigana man po ng imong utok, no? Kaya nag-recall ka. Smooth ang dance drama. Okay? Ang pagsayaw nimo is psychomotor. Ang pag-emote-emote sa imong dagway is affective. The storyline that you'll create is affective. Sir, nababay affective gani sir kung maglakaw ra ito sa balance beam nga pang gymnastics? Yes. Affective domain biya tanan kay nag-respond, no? Nag-receive and respond. That's still affective. Di ba yung ta choice man na kung di ko mo baklay kay mahadlok ko, that's affective domain. Non-response is also a response. Okay. So I hope you got enlightened from this particular aspect of the analysis of objectives in terms of those components or characteristics that we discussed last meeting. Questions? Clarifications? Or violent reactions? Hopefully none. Or anything else that relates to our lesson? Still absorbing. Yes, none so far. Still absorbing, trying to digest, trying to make sense of everything.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let's have a short 5-minute break. 5 minutes na siguro. Screen break or 10 minutes. What's the pleasure of the group?
10.
Okay. So ko kasi Jojet. Sige, Jojet, 10. 10 minutes. Sige, thank you. Let's have a 10-minute break.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, are we back? Is everyone on board? Not yet? Okay, I hope everyone is already in or is already here. I hope you remember that last time I told you to explore your CGs or those um, curriculum guides that are relevant to your background as future teachers. Because we shall continue with writing lesson objectives, but this time we have to adhere to the alignment of our objectives to the standards and competencies. So have you explored? I'll go back again to that underlying task that you should have last meeting. Have you tried to explore uh, the curriculum guides? Did you have some search or research moments on a curriculum guide? I think the others in the group chat were already asking where they can find the CG or where they have downloaded the CG. Are my assumptions correct? You have already at least glimpsed the curriculum guide, the CG, from DepEd, of course. Yes, Cherry? Explore na ka? And what particular subject did you try to look into?
Kuan man to siya kung nakuan sir na TLE.
TLE, yes, of course, since it's for your background, no? For your
Agriculture.
alignment. Yes. Aside from Cherry, I hope the others have already has seen the CG for their respective subjects or areas of specialization. So standards and competencies. Now, given that we are already at the uh, fulfillment of the rollout of the whole K to 12 curriculum, okay, we are now to really see that our students who are immersed fully in the K to 12 curriculum will be living out the vision and mission and the framework of that particular curriculum change or curricular innovation that we had. Now, we know that the K to 12 curriculum is a standards-based curriculum. Okay? It has the components that will make us globally competitive, that will have employability skill, or that will develop self-employability skills to our learners, and that roadmap towards further education or tertiary level learning. Remember that the K to 12 curriculum, the graduate of a K to 12 curriculum, has the particular goals and aspiration of the learner ay handa sa mundo, handa sa trabaho, handa sa kolehiyo. That's the thrust of the K to 12 graduate. Ready for college, ready for work, and ready for the world. Because we have global competitiveness, or we should have developed global competitiveness, given that the 21st century skills were already honed and developed. Now, when we say standards, we are referring to what students or learners should know and be able to do at the end of a unit or program of study, at the end of a subject in the year level or grade level. So what students or learners know and do, that's the most important connection there. What you know and what you're able to do. And it's not separate. It must not be separable, that you just know but you cannot do, or you can do but you don't know. It goes hand in hand together, as they say. Now, the standards provide the level of doing the competencies, because it is the standards that determine what particular competencies will be mastered or will be developed. Now, the standards indicate the real life purpose of the competencies. Since the competencies, when they are lumped together, they will be leading to a particular standard, and that standard has the lifelong quality of something that is also authentic or real life based. Because the standards will give us that sense of learners are mastering this content, this skill, this particular knowledge and ability, and values and attitudes, because this is something that they will not just be useful, or they will not just be using within the school year, but this has something to do with their lives. Now, standards are stated in broad or general terms. In summary, standards define what students are expected to know, what they should be able to do with what they know, and the meanings and understandings that they construct or make as they process the facts and information. So standards contain knowledge, processes and skills, and then understandings. That's why it's the teaching, the learning, and understanding continuum. Ang imong nahibaw-an, ang imong natun-an, ug ang imong nasabtan. What you know, what you're able to do, and what you have understood. Now, in the curriculum guide in the CG, you will see two kinds of standards, but they are not separate. They are actually one and the same in terms of the standard, but the perspective is two or dual: content and performance standards. Now, they are related to each other as standards. Well, the content standards look into what students should know and be able to do. Okay? They benchmark what is expected in terms of the understandings and the skills at different grade levels. Because in the CG, you will see it begins from grade 1 up to grade 10 per subject area. So the curriculum guide as a framework, as a sort of map or guide to teachers and learners, really enumerates per learning area or per subject area from the beginning level to the final level. So if you look at the CG, it's English, Math, Science, Filipino, all subjects that we have in school. And then it's from the beginning of that subject, meaning kung grade 1 magsugod, so gikan sa grade 1 nga competencies and standards until grade 10 for basic ed. Okay? Nga elementary and junior high, and there's also separate CG for senior high school. Content standards are broad in terms of its statement or how it is being stated. Now, why is it broad or why is it overarching? So that teachers can do differentiation to how students will manifest their understanding. So the standards are set in broad or generalist terms so that the contextualization of the standard is given at the hands of the teacher as a curriculum expert as well. And likewise, students will have the option to express their understanding in their own way, given their multiple intelligences, their individual differences, learning styles, and all those considerations. Well, the performance standards are indicators, okay? Describe how well students need to achieve in order to meet the content standards. So the performance standards refer to what will be the degree of acceptability. How will a student manifest learning in the content and to what extent is that asked for them, from them, that they will reach the content standards because they can show, they will indicate that if I do this, if I perform this, it means I already achieved the content standards related to this performance standard. The performance standards, okay, enumerates or shows to us the levels of proficiency that students are expected to demonstrate and what they know, in what they know, and in what they're able to do. Level of proficiency. Everyone can do. Everyone who knows can do. But the question is, how or in what level is the doing done? No? Kabalo. Pero unsa ka kabalo? Unsay percentage sa iyang kabalo sa paghimo? Is it excellent? Is it needs improvement? Is it satisfactory? Or is it needs, or it does not have anything, okay, to show? Now, performance standards are expressed in two, okay, or performance standards define the expected level in two ways. Either as students use learning or understanding in real life situations, and then students are able to do on their own, which again is our goal, which is beyond school, beyond classroom, and in the community. That's where they can really perform and show that if they can do this on their own, independently, after their school time or their after they graduate, then it means that we have been successful in implementing activities to achieve outcomes or goals. Now, competencies. If the standards are general, okay, the competencies are the specific versions of the standards. And you're able to call someone competent or with competency if that person can perform that particular competency, that particular task with mastery. No? Hunter na siya, hustler na daw kuno siya sa pag-perform dahil nga particular competency or task. Meaning, I have pa rin natagon nga competent individual. Diba? Kung dili competent, kay dili pa ma-reach ang standard, so dili siya tagon na competent. And the competencies are a sort of checklist. In the curriculum guides, the competencies are there enumerated week per week, which means if all the competencies will be achieved, check tanan na perform sa bata or nagpakita sa bata, kaya pa din siya maka-move forward to the next set of competencies, maybe in the next grading period or in the next grade level. Inanara siya ka simplified ang idea. Once na ma-comply nimo or mapakita nimo nga competent ka sa tanan competencies sa isa ka subject area, then you go to the next subject area. That's why at the end of the term, at the end of the school year, i-check gid na akong ang competencies ba nakabot sa bata, aya siya ipa-promote para makaadto og next nga grade level or basin ma-retain or basin maka-summer. Kaya ang pasabot dana nga naay mga competencies nga wala niya na-achieve or wala niya na-accomplish. Competencies are sets of knowledge, skills, and attitudes required to successfully perform a particular task, which means that a competency is a combination, okay, of what you know, what you're able to do with the appropriate disposition that you will be successful in performing a particular task. In simplified terms, let's have this elementary or basic ed example. Let's say science and health. In a science and health standard, probably it will be stated this way. The learner demonstrates understanding of the importance of good eating habits. Okay? Remember, the content standard is broad, no? Or the standards are broad. Understand the importance of good eating habits. Of course, it's not like an objective that the objective is SMART and with ABCD, but the standard is generic to everyone else, munang broad terms. So demonstrate understanding, that's the content. Now the performance, how will the student show or how can she have evidence that she can do? Oh, that's why she can perform. So it will be stated, the learner observes healthy eating habits. So if that can be done, if the student or the learner, okay, observes healthy eating habits, that means the learners have already achieved, okay, the content standards. But how can we know, how can we check what will be the evidence now, the documentation, kumbaga? It's in the competencies. The competencies will be the benchmarks. Kung mahimo na niya ang competencies under the standards, it means that na-comply na niya ang gipangayo sa content and performance standard. So going back from the example, learner understands or demonstrates understanding of the importance of good eating habits. The competencies distinguishes healthful and unhealthful food items, or healthy food versus not healthy food. Relates the consequences of eating unhealthy food. Practices good eating habits that can help one grow healthy. Chooses healthy food items. Eats regular meals. So si competency mo yung checklist. Pagka na ma-check na to na ng competency, which means pag na-achieve na niya ang competency, pasabot na na-achieve na sa niya ang standards. Or say, araling panlipunan. Okay? Pamantayan pang nilalaman, that's sa content standard. Pamantayan sa pagganap, that's sa performance standard. Okay? So, naipapamalas ng mag-aaral ang pag-unawa sa ugnayan ng kapaligiran at tao sa paghubog ng sinaunang kabiasnang Asyano. And there you have the content standard with the performance standard, malalim na nakapag-uugnay-ugnay sa bahaging ginampanan ng kapaligiran at tao sa paghubog ng sinaunang kabiasnang Asyano. Ang pamantayan sa pagkatuto or the competencies. Okay? Napalagahan, napaipaliwanag, nailalarawan. Okay. So, all in all, the curriculum guides provide all the standards and the competencies. So, wala na tayo problema dahil na anuman. It's already given. It's already a given, a plus for us because what we need to do as teachers, as curriculum experts, as implementers of the curriculum, we are just going to adapt the CG in all the standards and competencies to our classroom context. And how do we do that? The objectives that we have in our classroom, the learning objectives that we try to accomplish must be related to our standards. And of course, the competencies that can be found in the curriculum guides or the CG. So, dito sa competencies, kung imo lang nang ma-achieve ang competencies, nanagid na siya 99.9% nga achievement of the standards. Remember, because the competencies are the specific versions of the standards. So, kung makompleto ni mga competency, it means, it goes without saying, you have achieved the standards. Now, everything is given in the CG. Unsa naman himuon ni teacher? Unsa naman atong trabaho? That we will bring our learners towards the competencies. Nga kinahanglan ma-develop gid nila ang ilang competencies nga gitagana na gi-assign na daan sa DepEd. Kung atong sayunon pagsabot, basta mahimo nimo ang tanan gamit ang imong kakayahan, gamit ang imong katakos as a teacher to provide activities, experiences, and to assess properly using appropriate assessment strategies and given enough inputs and facilitation, then ma-achieve sa atong estudyante ang mga competencies. O kung ma-achieve na to tanan competencies, unsa may rason nga mahimong babag sa ilang paglambo. Pero nganong makaingon man ta karon nga daghan mga estudyante nga walay kahibalo or lacking competencies, lacks the skills, lacks the knowledge. Therefore, it goes to question what kind of teachers are there. Given nga naa na ang mga curriculum guide, given nga naa na tanan halos mga materials provided or you can be downloaded online, nga nang wala pa mga nato na-achieve ang total quality learning and quality education, kung quality manggali ang giapas in terms of public school education system. Hanay maunta kayo ang mga CG. Plastar man kayo kay nang gihimo mga curriculum experts. That's why it's a challenge for us teachers. We are the frontliners in the education sector. Mura sa tadanig mga medical professional in the pandemic era. Nakita ang frontline service because we deliver the curriculum. We deliver in how and on how we interpret the curriculum. O kung kulang ta sa skills sa curriculum development or sa classroom instructional setups, bisan pag unsa ka tsada ang curriculum, bisan pag unsa ka K-12 aligned with American, with European standards, ang teacher manggid karon ang atong pinaka importante nga asset sa delivery mode. Diba? It's the individual teacher in the classroom who teaches the curriculum, meaning who implements the curriculum, who tries to translate the documents from DepEd and tries to make something out of it in the classroom setting, materials, strategies for learning and assessment, no? So muna usahay kayong nga nadili magitanan maayo. But we are trained. That's why you are trained in the Prof Ed modular program to deliver a curriculum. So in short, align yourselves with the CG. Align your objectives with the curriculum guide. And look through the competencies. Okay, so let me show you a curriculum guide. I hope you also have downloaded curriculum guides on your own. So what you're seeing right now, hopefully on your screens, is the curriculum guide, the CG, with the most essential learning competencies, or on the other way around, because of the new normal, the pandemic era, it's actually the response of the DepEd to identify from the CG, what are the competencies that will be covered for this school year, given the unique situation that we have for education. So the MELCs, the most essential learning competencies. And then with the CG code. So if you're familiar with looking at the CG, just for as an example, speak out. Baga kaninga document, you can download this one. Yes, we have Araling Panlipunan. We have grade 4. Let's have grade 7. No? So in the CG for Araling Panlipunan, it has already been outlined. For example, we have grade 8 Araling Panlipunan. First grading, content standards, performance standards, and then the competencies, the MELCs, the most essential. It's already budgeted into weeks. Week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So the content standards is partnered always with the performance standard. And then to reach these standards, na ipapamalas ang pag-unawa sa interaksyon ng tao sa kanyang kapaligiran. Nakabubuo ng panukalang proyekto na nagsusulong sa pangangalaga at preserbasyon sa mga pamana ng sinaunang kabiasnan. Now, if you're able to create okay, a project that will preserve, okay, ancient civilization items or our inheritance from ancient times. It means that you'll be able to understand that there is a connection of the past and the present because that is stated in the content standards. Now, how to do that? Make sure you accomplish the competencies. Nasusuri ang katangiang pisikal ng daigdig. If students are able to analyze physical features of the earth, will that help them understand the interaction of environment and civilization? Of course, it does. Everything that's written in the competencies made out by our curriculum developers is related to one another. They look at already the interconnections. That's why in the new normal, daghan man kami nga competencies. Pero what the DepEd experts has done, they removed, no? And they only retained or left those who are, okay, really, really important. So kung ma-check na tanan sa bata, no? Ang buhaton ni teacher is, kaning tanan competencies, dapat maka-provide siya og mga learning experiences, og learning activities, okay, para ma-achieve sa bata pagkahuman ang kanang competency. So muna gitawag na ito nga alignment. Okay? Kaya ang imong objective nga himuon, the objective that you will create will be based on the competencies. And since the competencies are based on the standards, so kung imong objective nakabase sa competency daan, you're already good. And remember, gikan sa imong objectives nga nahimo, mo man na imong basihan para sa imong mga activities o mga learning experiences nga ipa, okay, hatag sa imong mga estudyante nga imong himuon sa imong klase. Because once they are done with those experiences and activities, pag-assess nimo in the assessment phase, you will go back to whether na-achieve ba si objective o wala. Kaya kung wala na-achieve ang objective, meaning, ang objective nga related sa imong competency, wala gid na-achieve dayon ang competency. Kung dili mahimo ang objective. Naka imong competency kay related man sa performance standards. So kung wala na-achieve si objective, wala na-achieve ang competency, samot nga wala na-achieve ang standards. So that's how interconnected and interrelated this particular alignment, mo nagtawag nga alignment. How do you know that it's aligned? Aligned kay gikan pa lang sa imong objective, padulong dito sa imong pag-test, pag-assess, no? Sumpay sang tanan. For instance, nasusuri ang yugto ng pag-unlad ng kultura sa panahong prehistoriko. This is the competency. Nasusuri ang yugto ng pag-unlad from prehistoric times. Okay, the development of life and human beings since prehistoric era. Okay, or prehistoric times. Unsa may mga pwede nimo himuon, no? Nga makaabot na nga competency sa pagsuri, no? Sa yugto ng pag-unlad. Unsay pwede nga mga learning activities o unsay pwede nga mga test nga imong himuon. Siguro sir, maghimo sa kong objective nga related ani sa nasusuri ang yugto ng pag-unlad. Nakabubuo o nakagagawa ng isang chart ng timeline ng iba't ibang yugto ng panahong prehistoriko. Nakabubuo ng isang storyboard. Pwede gihapon, di ba? A different prehistoric times man, no? Cultural development. Nakasusulat ng, no, o nakabubuo ng isang graphic organizer or chart. No? Munang, tanan mo himuon gyud, no? muuli gid na sa competency dapat. Kung nasusuri siya, unsa may pwede dayon nga exam or test nga imong hihatag? Nasusuri na analyze. So, sir, ang kanang naililista na isa-isa. Kung malista lugar niya ang mga yugto ng pag-unlad, nasuri ba na niya? Ay, dili man, kay nasuri man. Pero natutukoy ang mga pahayag na totoo ayon sa panahong prehistoriko. Kanang natutukoy ang mga pahayag. Pagtukoy sa mga pahayag, sa may i-test na mo na. Tama, mali. Di ba? Checking if students know the accurate data. And if they know the accurate data by tama, mali, nga test or quiz, pasabot ba na nga nasuri na niya ang pagyugto o ang yugto ng pag-unlad? Most probably, yes. Kay kung makabalo siya nga, sayop maning statement. Kay sa akong nabasahan, sa akong natunan, inani ang nahitabo. O, so kaya naka-identify naman siya sa true or false statements, meaning, nagamit na niya yung natunan datong mga yugto ng pag-unlad ng kultura o ng panahong prehistoriko. Munang makasuri na siya, maka-analyze na siya. So you can see how important it is that our objectives will be based on the MELCs or will be derived and aligned to the MELCs so that kung unsa atong himuon sa classroom, kung unsa ang atong i-provide ng activities, kung unsa nga klase nga test or assessment ang atong himuon, everything will be connected. Munang balik-balik ng term karon alignment, alignment, alignment. Even in the choice of your materials. Okay? Diba, kung maghimo kag PowerPoint or slide presentation, ngano kinahanglan na inani man ang gamiton, ngano na may mga rules on visual aids. Because it will relate to all of the processes of learning. So bottom line for this afternoon is that always check the alignment using the curriculum guide or using the CG. Okay, kinsa na may naka-download sa CG din sa ilang mga subjects, be? Jojet? Only Jojet? Yes, Jojet, would you like to say something? Raise hand lang mo kay naka-download na mo. Andrea also? Yes, so that's good. No, naka-explore na mo. Now, what have you noticed in the CG? In the CGs that you have downloaded, respective CGs? Were you overwhelmed? Maka-overwhelmed ba? Maka-stress? Na-stress na ba mo? The CG is a helpful tool. Nalipong ka, Jojet? Well, ayun lang, sagbasa tanan. No? Pero, of course, one grade level, one grading period at a time, 1 quarter. Because it's actually a helpful tool. The CG is not created for punishment. It's created as a solution para walay magpataka nga maestra nga magtudlo, nga maestro nga mag-conduct og activity nga naman bahalag asa man mula apari hanggang hulo sa ang lupalop ng mundo, isa lang ang sinusundan ng Filipino learner, ang Filipino student, ang curriculum guide ng DepEd. Tumana lang ng nasa curriculum guide, i-enhance, i-innovate, ayaw lang gigwai. Remember mo na ang minimum standard, no? Kung natay minimum health protocols, minimum learning, minimum learning competencies lang na siya. Karon gihimo paging most essential, gigamay, gigamyan. Of course, because of the trend of our times. Okay. Any question or clarification or any thoughts that you'd like to share regarding our discussion this afternoon? Yes, Cherry?
Ay, wala, sir. Ganina ra na siguro.
Okay, Murag. Uh, your raise hand button is always up in the air. Sige.
Ah,
Okay, so this week or within this week, I shall be sending to you our first exam. And it will be considered our sort of prelim exam. Okay? So all our lessons, all discussions from first meeting or first session down to this session, our fourth session, am I correct? Our fourth session, that will be the coverage for our exam. The exam covers two types, multiple choice, and then explanation or short writing activity. So I will be sending the links through the Google Classroom. So I will have, or we shall have our exam, our sort of prelim, okay, within this week. Check the Google Classroom for that matter. And by next Saturday also, okay, by next Saturday, I hope that you are already familiar with your curriculum guides. That is to your specialization. Sa mga specialization. So if your course undergraduate is science related, then look for the science CG. If you are an engineering student or graduate, okay, or based on mathematics, IT, no? Oh no, IT is considered aralpan, sorry. No? Or engineering-based fields, math. Katulad
Ingon
yung
sila
mga
sir, IC, TLE daw sir ang IT.
TLE, aralpan, pero ang TLE kay apil man na ang home economics, ang accounting, entrepreneurship. So it's not just on computers and all computer related stuff. That's why some IT are also being relegated to araling panlipunan. BSBA or commerce related courses, araling panlipunan.
Pwede ra sa TLA ang BSBA, sir?
TLE pero ang TLE rabi kay all components including um, agriculture, um, kukiri, nana.
Ay, sir, dili pod pwede nga senior high nga mga subjects among pilion?
Senior high subjects are specific to core competencies and then to specialized subjects. But I'd like us first to practice junior high school. Okay, we will take first junior high school, then senior high school. Kaya ang budget based sa junior high school is 10 months or 1 school year. The senior high is by semester, semestral. So lahi ang pacing sa senior high school, it's more likely college-like than a junior high school. So we'll start first with junior high school level subjects that will be aligned or matched to your competencies. Because strategies are also varying in terms of the level of your students' maturity. So, junior high, we can always look into how do we differentiate an activity that's grade 7 or for grade 7 or a grade 10 level activity. So we'll start first with junior high school subject areas before we move to senior high school. Okay, kung mag-teacher gid mo, if your goal is in depth ed, you really cannot actually choose. Di ba? Kung mag-ingon nga, MAPE ang bakante, kay walay MAPE or PE graduate, ikaw ang naa din ha. Balibad ka. Or ang vacant nga item or na-sub ni mga teacher, nag-substitute teacher ka, nag-leave man tong teacher ni mong kuanan, teacher sa science, na daw, kayo ka may science nga background. Remember, The teacher becomes the jack of all trades, and we must therefore master, not none, but master everything. Okay, that's part of the commitment to teach. The passion is also with the pressure to become all. No? You're the sana all. We're the sana all of everyone. Kita kabalutanan bisag wa nato na naagian, because we are not just forced, but we shall be put into situations nga, my God, no? Layo ra kayo sa akong nahibaw-an nga skill or na train daan. Before, I had experienced substitute teaching in a public school. Before I sabra man sad to. I'm an English major, but when I had a substitute teaching dito sa Division of Cagayan de Oro 9 years ago, 10 years perhaps, the teacher who was on maternity leave, handling multi-grade subjects, handles English, but aside from English, she handles science, she handles some ESP or MAPE. You could just imagine how I handled that science subject, given that I'm an English major. But what can we do? Diba? Hindi tayo dapat choosy, because if we're choosy na, you are not the only applicant available. You have one versus 900 others on the list. So the safest answer to any call from DepEd is yes. Diba? Never say no, because you are not the only one that they're waiting for, in essence. Diba? Ingnon nga pagsayaw, naisayaw, sayaw kagid ma'am. Naay activity, naay unsa pa kana diha, pahina uban pa. Yes na yes na yes. Okay, so be familiar with subjects that are aligned to your specific backgrounds, junior high level. Okay, junior high level. Because we shall then be discussing lesson planning along with our activity on competencies, alignment of competencies and objectives, so that you will then be starting to create a lesson plan, first at a junior high level, and next will be a senior high level. And then that's the time we then choose, or then you are free to choose which level or grade level and subject matter you will likely conduct your teaching demo, which is our final output for this class. Okay, any questions so far? Clarification? Yes, Miss Orsal?
Kung ay mag-ask lang ako, sir, kung kuan siya, sir, akong course is sociology. Unsay related na siya, sir?
Araling panlipunan, because that's under social studies.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So practice your pambansang wika skills. Any other questions?
Sir, excuse me. Ako lang iklaro to,
Yes,
sir.
yes.
Ang accounting, sir, under siya sa, diba, sir, social studies, araling panlipunan, and...
Yes, Araling Panlipunan.
Okay.
Because part of Araling Panlipunan is economics. Just 1/4 of that is economics. The rest is world history.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yes. You're welcome. Anything else? Yes,
Social
ma'am.
work.
Social work? Oh, social
Yes,
na yan. Social studies. Araling Panlipunan.
Thank you, sir.
Yes.
How about engineering, sir?
Ay, syempre, math. Kinakain niyo yung mga numbers sa engineering, kaya sisiw lang si math sa junior high school.
Economics, sir.
Economics? Siyempre, part ng Araling Panlipunan ng economics, kaya Araling Panlipunan.
Okay, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Ang computer science, sir.
Komsay. Actually, araling palipunan gihapon na. I don't know sa PRC karon kung asa na mo ibutang pag mag-take mo board exam. Did you try to inquire? The last time IT Prof Eds took the exam, they took the araling palipunan in the
Ba, sir?
major. Yes.
Kaya nagpakuan mga ko, sir, nagpa-evaluate ko before sa Cagayan.
Unsa na may gingon sa imo asa kay butang nga subject area? Math?
Nabadrip ko kay sa math ko gibutang.
O see? Math. Nay time nga ibutang nila sa social studies, which is murag dali ra siguro mapasar kay current events, something like that. I don't know how they do that or how they have the standards kung asa ka ibutang because they look at your transcript. So probably
sige.
because imong subject is sa college is heavy on math, that's why. Ang uban TLE ang uban. There was a one time nga aralpan. I think I know one Prof Ed, si Mrs. Galario Sumampan, if you know her, or Mrs. Rina Ramoso, they're in DepEd now. When they took the LEP, they took their IT graduates, they took it under Aralpan, Social Studies.
Mas
I don't know
tiyadang
this
aralpan,
time.
sir.
I'm not saying it's Chada because lisod ang math, but asa may pilion, math o araling palipunan.
Aralpan, sir.
If you're going to take the 300 items in the major, di ba? Out of 300 items, asa ka mas makascore dito sa math nga major o sa araling palipunan?
Ako, sir.
Yes, Mr. Famas. What's your undergraduate degree, by the way? I forgot.
Nursing, sir.
Ay,
Nurse.
nursing. Best in science ang nursing.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Memorize na nato na ang mga kwan chemistry, physics, and all that. Okay. Any other clarification? So explore the CG. You can download the CG, www.deped.gov.ph. Check the DepEd website. Everything is there, especially the curriculum guides. So if you don't have questions, let's call it a day. Let's call it an afternoon. Just wait in the Google Classroom within this week. I will be sending our prelim exam link through Google Forms in our Google Classroom. And from time to time, also check the Google Classroom because announcements or other things that are posted there are for you to make you learn or to make you at least have some follow-up for your activities.